Hello, everybody, and welcome to the SoxProspects.com podcast, the web's #1 source for information on the Boston Red Sox from top to bottom, from Fort Myers to Worcester, across the Pike to Fenway, and all stops in between. Thank you all for listening. My name is Chris Hatfield. I'm the executive editor of Sox Prospects, joined as always by our director of scouting, Ian Kundle. Ian, another draft season is in the books. Or not the draft season in the books. The draft is in the books. We have draft signing period now, but another kind of very unique sort of draft. I think we saw some things that are new, some things that a lot of people thought were new that I think were continuations of where the Sox were already starting to go with some things, but it definitely felt a little bit different this year than it did even last year in other recent seasons in terms of kind of the team's focus on a number of levels. Just at a 10,000 foot level, kind of how are you feeling after the 3-day draft has ended?
It's tiring, but it's nice to have new players in the system. And I'm not really surprised. We'll get into it more. What they did, I think this was inevitable.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a fun few days and definitely some surprises. But overall, it seems like a pretty solid group coming into the system, which is all that really matters at the end of the day. But now it's on to performing once they sign. So that's right. So we're only at stage one. There's a long way to go.
Yeah. I mean, we've got signing period. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what we see out of this draft class going forward, our thoughts on it, how we think it got put together, that kind of thing. But first, if you want to support the show, there's a few ways you can do that. Support the show, support the site by spreading the word, telling a friend, telling a relative, tell the kid up the road that just, got drafted in the 19th round and, already has the team's, name and his bio as his job, and he's already updating his LinkedIn and all that stuff. Tell them about the show. You can also help by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, wherever else it is that you listen to the show, if they allow for rating and reviewing. And of course, you can support us with some hard cash monies. You can support the Sox Prospects donation drive, which is live right now. Again, our goal is to raise $10,000 this year to help pay for firsthand travel costs for scouting, as well as general IT costs. To make a one-time donation, you can head to soxprospects.com/donate. Any amount, you can even make a very mumuch appreciated, smart alecky, but kind of funny donation related to my comment about $300. Not having to give $300 exactly. Saw that one, very much appreciated to that particular donor. But yeah, we appreciate any support that y'all can give. And of course, you can support us on patreon.com/soxprospects. Get some neat perks for your per episode pledge. And of course, send your emails to podcast@soxprospects.com because we want to talk about what you all want to hear about. Without further ado, Ian, let's get right into it. The draft happened from this past Sunday through Tuesday. We're recording this on Wednesday night. The Red Sox made 20 selections. Obviously, the most important one being the 19th round. Although, of course, it's kind of funny. Every draft, there's like one pick. Not every draft. Sometimes in the draft, you think there's like one pick that you're like, okay, we're going to get like a disproportionate amount of questions about this guy. And I think D'Angelo Ortiz is going to be that guy for us for, however long he's in the system. But
I thought it was cool.
It's cool. It's very cool. It's wild. I felt very, very old when that happened. But it was cool to see.
I felt old for a long time, starting when birthdays on minor league rosters were like 06, 07. And then I was just like, yeah, I'm toast. But
yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. Especially cool. It's a shame they couldn't get Manny's son also. That would have been a dynamic duo to have. But
that's what we had. Angels. We had what year was it? Last year's Brockton Rocks that they played together with like Gary Sheffield's kid too.
Yeah, I think so.
They were like
2022. It was 2 years ago because I was looking at D'Angelo's stats and he didn't play for the Rocks last summer.
Got it. Yeah, that sounds right. 20 rounds in the books. The Red Sox went very pitching heavy, which I think we kind of saw coming. They drafted 1, 2, 3. Was there a fourth outfielder? Yeah, 4 outfielders, 1 catcher. Only half of an infielder. And the rest of the picks were pitchers. It was 16. Oh, no. D'Angelo Ortiz is third baseman. So he's the only other infielder.
Yeah, they drafted 2 infielders, quote unquote.
Yeah. One of them being two-way player Conrad Kaysen in the 8th round out of high school in Georgia.
Well, and they've said he is going to be developed as a two-way player. So we're going to have to, when it comes to adding these numbers up, I'm counting him twice. When it does,
that's fair. So it's 21 draft picks plus there's
Well, no,
a
no, no,
report
it's
on.
it's 20 draft picks. But I'm talking about when you're saying like how many infielders or how many position
Right,
players
right,
versus
okay,
how many
right.
pitchers,
Okay. Yeah, I
or
don't know why I
like,
was doing it
yeah,
that way.
yeah,
Yeah, so 20
yeah.
draft picks plus a an undrafted free agent that was reported today, and Calvin Bickerstaff out of Kent State, a junior, redshirt junior, which is interesting, but wants to get his pro career started, which is it happens
Well,
for sure.
Redshirt Junior is a senior though, basically. Especially if he
Right,
took a COVID year, it could be a sixth season. So because
that's
this is the
true.
last class of guys who can use the COVID year. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So understand wanting to go pro there. And honestly, like being an undrafted free agent at this point, they don't treat all that much differently than a guy that's drafted on day 3. So, if he got a decent amount of money, why not? Um, but yeah, definitely very pitching heavy focus this year in the draft. Not terribly surprising. I think, everyone was kind of focused on the first round pick being a pitcher, but, they went best player available on Braden Montgomery. And then from there, it was a whole lot of college. They only drafted 2 high school players, one out of Puerto Rico, which is its own almost kind of category for me. 2 JUCO players, one being 5th rounder Brandon Clark, a left-hander who's committed to South Carolina, and the other being D'Angelo Ortiz. And the rest were college guys. This is the most college-heavy draft, I think. At least at the beginning of it, it was the most college-heavy draft that they had. I think it was when the first 7 picks were all college players. The last time they did that was 2004 when that was the year they drafted Dustin Pedroia in the 2nd round as their first pick. So super college heavy, which is interesting. Ian, what are your kind of big takeaways of the pitcher heaviness, the college heaviness? Like for what it's worth, this was like the fewest amount of high school players taken in a draft in like years as well across the game. So it wasn't even necessarily just the Red Sox, but what were your kind of takeaways from this class?
yeah, I think that's kind of just the way the game is going, where
Yeah.
there's just they want more finished products, or they're kind of starting to see college as more of an alternative to the low minors. Which, I mean, if you look at how bad the low minors is, wouldn't be surprised.
Well, they're
And
outsourcing the first couple of years of development, basically,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Well,
Like,
that's what I was going to get at. And
yeah.
the
Oh,
difference
sorry.
now is
Sorry.
that a lot of the high school guys, especially if you're one of the higher end guys who's maybe not like a first round pick, but you're like someone who's, a day 2, more day 3 pick, you could get, 250, 400K in the 7th round, or you could go to college and probably make a similar amount in a year in NIL now.
With
So,
NIL money, right?
yeah, I mean, we saw it this year with some of the bigger guys, like a couple of LSU guys pulling out of the draft entirely. So, or LSU commitments, I should say, pulling out of the draft. So,
Well, that's the thing too, because so many of these guys are transferring. Like, Montgomery was a transfer. Like Tolley was a transfer. Like a lot of these guys transferred, and part of that's NIL money. Like, let's be frank here.
yeah, no, but I was just talking about high schoolers like William Schmidt, just who was going to be like a date. But yeah, no, I mean, I think the other thing is though that now these guys can transfer freely, so they can go to college, and if it doesn't work out one school, you just transfer and you go to another one. So,
right.
I'm not surprised it was college heavy. I'm not surprised it was pitcher heavy. I think that it checked a lot of the boxes that kind of what we've seen, the way this development staff, things they're emphasizing, and also I think things that they think they can fix.
Yeah.
Because I think especially with the position players, there's a lot of similarities between at least the early ones. I'm not going to count the high school guys, but the college guys they took, there's a lot of similarities. And then with the pitchers, it seems like they didn't necessarily all check the same box, but they all checked an important box, whether it be, a variety of different things that we'll probably talk about in a little bit. But yeah, that was kind of my biggest takeaway. Was I wasn't surprised at all what they did. I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about the Braden Montgomery and Peyton Tolley picks on the Night One Reaction podcast. I don't think we're going to go back into that in depth again. So if you want to hear our in-depth reactions to the Night One picks, go listen to that episode. And then, we'll be here. We'll pause. We'll wait till you come back. Maybe let's go to the pitchers then, Ian, because to me, and if you want to get into guys individually, you can. It's interesting in that you made the point on Twitter about their height. It's a very tall class. And as far as pitching goes, it was a lot of like we talked about with Tolley, where it's like unique fastball. There's like, okay, this guy has great control. This guy's got an incredible sweeper or something. And it's like, you could see what they saw in the data of these guys. I don't know if
Yeah,
you kind of had takeaways of those sorts and just kind of what they're looking for and what they're probably looking to do.
no, I think it's the way the organization is going. I mean, they're a very heavily analytical and model driven team under Craig Breslow, and I think that they have an emphasis, points of emphasis when it comes to pitchers. They're looking for certain traits or attributes that, because if you have one of those traits, you can build, and I think they can teach something. They can improve other areas, but it's hard if you don't come in with a baseline of something. And if you look at this year's draft class, we already talked about. Tully, as you said, he's got the extension. He's got the fastball with big life up in the zone. That's probably the most consistent thing you'll see across all their pitchers is a fastball with ride. They want a fastball that can play up in the zone. Right. And that's obviously a point of emphasis at the major league level too. But you see it, that's pretty uniform across the draftees. You look at like some of the other ones. The other thing you'll see is like Blake Ada. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I think it's Ada.
Ada sounds right. We'll go with Ada for now.
They talked about it on the draft. I think Jim Callis was the one who said it. And then I did some digging and saw some numbers, but he had some of the best like spin rates in the draft in terms of like breaking ball stuff, and like models just loved his breaking ball. And so even with a guy like him, he's probably one of the softer throwers they took. I think he's only like up to 92, maybe 93.
Yeah, it's like him and Futrell probably, right?
But and Shea Sprague maybe too, but he's got like crazy feel for spin. And so, he might not have that fastball like some of the other guys do, but he's got the breaking ball, and he's got a really unique look where he's coming from a very vertical approach angle. Yeah. So when you have those two things, that's something to build on. If you can coax a little more velo out, things like that. Yeah. So I think I think that there are definitely traits that they look for, and there's some similarities, but it's not like a one size fits all approach. Guy like Brandon Clark comes in, he's 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", great size, up to 99 from the left side with a high spin breaking ball. So he checks a couple boxes there, but then you contrast that with Shea Sprague, who's like 88 to 91, but has a really good changeup. But he's 6'3", so maybe you can coax a little more velo out of there. So. Yeah, I think that they have a lot of trust in the development system, and rightfully so, especially on the pitching side with what they've done this year. And it's the same with the hitting side. I mean, I think Christian Campbell is kind of the archetype they went for again this year. You look at the hitters. Yeah, you look at the college position players they took. Zach Erhard, Will Turner, and Hudson White, the guys they took in the top. I think they were the only college position players they ended up taking. Actually, yeah, because Dan Ortiz was a JUCO.
Ortiz was a JUCO, and Jan Cruz is a high schooler.
Yeah. Those guys all have similarities in that they're high contact, low chase rate guys who get on base at a really nice clip. They don't strike out too much. They walk a ton, except they don't hit the ball very hard. That's the similarity between all of them. And I think what they've shown is that's what Christian Campbell was. And, coming out of the draft, he was known as insane in zone contact rate, low chase rate, doesn't hit the ball very hard. They made some swing changes. He's hitting the ball really hard this year. And I think that that's kind of the litmus test is, they think they can add exit velo and get guys to hit the ball harder. And they took guys that have traits that are a little harder, I think, to teach. I think it's a little harder, to get guys not to chase. It's a little harder to get guys who have like preternatural feel for zone contact, like things like that. So it's definitely an interesting class, and it fills some of the gaps too, because with only one, we'll call two high school guys, you have a lot of players that you think can probably be ready to handle, Greenville, Salem next year. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if a few of the later round pitchers even pitch this year. So with the new limits too, I think that there's going to be a further emphasis by teams on guys that are ready to play, because you don't have as much time to develop in the low minors as you would have, in past.
Yeah. It's that piece. It's, like they clearly know what they're looking for, right? They clearly know, like they have an archetype that they're looking for and what they think they can coax out of that archetype. Even if it's, say one of the three of Erhard, Turner, and White, for example, makes it. Like if they make a Christian Campbell like jump, that makes it worth it, right? Like a 1 in 3 success rate on that, they'll take it, for sure. The question is, like, is it just that Christian Campbell is that good, or is it that archetype can be tweaked that way. We'll find out. Same thing with the pitchers. They clearly have a thing they're trying to do here. I don't know if we should maybe go a little bit, at least on like
I
the
think
day two
should
guys.
we should probably go through. I mean,
Yeah.
might as well.
Yeah. So the third rounder was Brandon Neely, a right-hander out of Florida. He was their closer as a sophomore. And then as a junior, he like started the year as their closer, moved into being like their Friday night starter mid-year, then went back to closing. Really got hot for them in the NCAA tournament. He was like the MVP of their super regional. He was an absolute stud carrying them.
Yeah,
in the
I have the
College World
numbers. He
Series.
was 24 innings, 15 hits, 5 earned runs, 6 walks, 38 strikeouts.
Yeah, I mean,
and they upset. They were not a regional host, and they ended up winning. So
Oklahoma State, I think they coincidentally enough.
It was either Stillwater or Fayetteville. I can't remember.
It was Stillwater.
It was Stillwater. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Although in reading the scouting reports, I'm in the same place you are, where someone was in the Fayetteville regional and someone was in the Stillwater regional. I guess it would make sense if Hudson White was the guy in the Fayetteville regional. But anyway, Neely, he was a guy that's like top 200-ish in the various like pre-draft rankings, which by the way, I maybe a good spot for the PSA here on pre-draft rankings. Teams draft boards after the top like 20 diverge like to an extreme rate. So even though you see like, for example, Brandon Neely being in like, 193 on MLB, 212 on Baseball America, 206 on Perfect Game. I don't know if like Keith Law or Kylie McDaniel had him ranked or Fangraphs.
Kylie had him 181.
Okay. Like, that doesn't mean that teams across the game had him 181. Like there are probably teams that like had him in the, 80s or even lower. There are probably teams that had him in the 500s. Like it's not going to be that uniform across the game. So like the numbers from these rankings are a decent litmus test of like how guys are thought of or were thought of at a given time, but they're not indicative necessarily of how every team viewed guys. If you see someone diverging from a list, it doesn't mean they're the only team that did. Anyway, Neely about a top 200 guy. Go for it.
Neely was, he also played for Team USA, which is something they've obviously gone after in the past. Mm-hmm. He was 92 to 94, topped out at 97, really high whiff rate on his fastball. He's got the carry up in the zone, and he's got a bunch of movement on his fastball too. That with it coming from this low like a release point or low like vertical approach angle. So something the Red Sox have targeted, and as you said, he was dominant in the playoff run. So he's a pretty interesting arm and someone that I think they're going to develop as a starter. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he takes to becoming a full-time starter like he was at the end of at the end of the season, because it's the third pitch definitely seems like a work in progress, but there definitely are some interesting traits here.
Yeah. The third pitch seems to be one thing he definitely needs to learn to work on. And then, few other things is we'll have the scouting reports up on these guys soon. The next pick was Zach Earhart, who was a redraft for the Red Sox. They drafted him out of high school. And of course, his older brother, Drew, is a catcher in the Red Sox system who was signed as an undrafted free agent last year. Their father was a catcher for 4 seasons in the Yankees farm system. And as I mentioned, Earhart was drafted in the 13th round out of high school in 2021. Interesting pick there. A little not underwhelming, maybe just merely whelming. But I think you basically more or less described him how I would. But I don't know if you've got anything on top of that on Earhart.
No, I think that he does have a pretty high floor because he's got speed and he's a really good defender. Probably he should be able to stick in center with good arm. Mm-hmm. So when you combine that, that it sounds like at least worst case you got an organizational outfielder, but he's got really good plate discipline. Like it's a pretty direct swing, makes a ton of contact, doesn't swing and miss. If they can get a little more, impact and some hard hit out of him, then it could be pretty interesting. But I think just the floor is pretty high because of the speed and contact skills with that defense.
Yeah. It's actually kind of funny. He's one of 4 draft picks for scout Chris Riley, who literally like less than a month ago left the organization to join the coaching staff at West Virginia. So it's like, I'm kind of curious, like, does Chris Riley, is he the signing scout? Like, is he like finishing up this draft season before starting in West Virginia? It's interesting, but at any rate, because Devin Pearson mentioned like calling Chris to tell them that they Peyton Tolley was another one who was a Chris Riley area guy. And he called him to tell him. So apparently he wasn't in the war room. So I don't know if he's going to sign him or if it's going to be someone else, but it's very interesting. Next is Brandon Clark, left-hander out of State College of Florida, Manatee, Sarasota, which is a JUCO. He transferred.
He was in Alabama.
He was at Alabama.
He didn't pitch.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, he's at Alabama. He didn't pitch there as a freshman, transferred to Manatee. And he was committed to South Carolina. So that's a good school right there. So I'm curious to see what his bonus ends up being, because wouldn't surprise me if he maybe gets a little more than slot given the South Carolina commitment.
Yeah, but, he was a guy who apparently in 2021 was a pop-up guy as a high school guy out of Virginia early in the season, but didn't keep it up. So it looked like he might pop up and then he just kind of didn't. But now, they're on him. So you're right. He is intriguing.
Yeah. And he fits the mold of what I've been talking about. Kind of with I think a big contrast with their draft from last year.
Yep.
Where you look at the pitchers they took last year. And you mentioned earlier, but like 12 of 14 pitchers this year are taller than 6'3", 9 of 14 are taller than 6'5". Last year, only five of the 12 pitchers they took are taller than 6'3". And I just think when you come in with a guy, like it's harder to get more velo when you're, 6 foot, 5'11", 6'1". There's just not a lot of projection there. Whereas a guy like Clark, who's 6'4", 220, I know he's had some TJ, there's some effort in the delivery, but
had Tommy John in 2019.
He's 93 to 97. Like he's touching 99.
Yep.
There's more margin for error when you have that type of velocity to fall back on. And he's got a high spin curveball. Changeup is kind of a work in progress, but I guess at the draft combine it showed a lot more potential than it had shown before when he was at Manatee. So he's definitely an interesting guy to me. Because I understand it's a college guy, but a South Carolina commitment's not something you take lightly. Like that's one of the top 10, 15 programs in the country. So that's he's a legit prospect and definitely someone I'm very interested to see what he signs for and then what he looks like after signing, because there's a lot to build on and a lot to like there with that with that size, that pitcher's frame, and that present velocity.
Blake Aita was the 6th rounder out of Kennesaw State, 6'4", 215. I should be saying heights and weights for these guys because they're all so big. 6'4", 215.
Teammate of Blake Wehunt last year.
Yep. I don't know if Aida has a chicken farm or not, but he's a guy you already kind of gave a little bit of the dig on him, or the scouting report on him. Former Cape guy, draft eligible sophomore.
A lot of Cape guys in their draft, by the way, like a lot of guys who played in the Cape Cod League.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's also just a lot of guys who've played out there now who are in college, but draft eligible sophomore is interesting, but it doesn't strike me as a profile that they'll have a tough time signing. I don't know.
Well, I think he's played 3 years though, I thought.
Right. Well, I mean, that's all these guys with like the COVID year and stuff. Like I don't even know.
No, he's only played 2 years, but he's also already 21.
Okay. But that's what makes him a draft eligible sophomore.
Yeah, so 21. He's interesting in the sense that he's kind of one of the outliers where he comes from like right over the top. It's like a really high release. But as I said earlier, his fielder spin is like insane. His curveball is up to like 32. He's had some over 3,200 RPMs, and he's kind of like got that cut gyro slider in the mid 80s too, with a high spin rate. So he's just got really good feel for spin. And that's just another thing that you can really build on. If a guy comes in with that type of secondary stuff and you can get a little more velo, then there's definite upside there.
Yeah. 7th rounder, Will Turner, who I kind of like this pick, outfielder out of the University of South Alabama. It's funny because the position players are all short. They're all 6'1" or shorter. Except for Montgomery, who's 6'2", 220. He's the biggest position player they drafted. Earhart's only 5'11". Will Turner, 6'1", 200. University of South Alabama was a guy who entered this year as like a potential top 100 draft prospect and apparently tweaked his swing in college trying to get to more power and it just did not work.
He lowered his hands. He basically was just trying to sell out to hit
Just
the ball in
drop
the
and
air more.
drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a disaster. He
Yeah.
hit
It
like
just popped
200 this
everything
year.
up. Yeah.
He
It
hit
just
like
popped
200.
everything up. But it's, it should be able to stick in center plus arm. He checks a lot of the other boxes. If they can fix the swing, I really like what's there for a 7th-round pick.
Well, and the thing is, even with as bad a season as he had, his like strikeout numbers and walk numbers were still good.
Right. He was just making bad
Like
contact as
his
opposed to
season,
no
he in
contact.
268 plate appearances, he had 218, 409, 421, 21%
Mhm.
walk rate, 18% strikeout rate. Like doesn't chase really. He's athletic, as you said, he can run, he can play center field. But yeah, it's just can they figure out the swing? But there's a lot to like there under the surface and stuff to kind of build on if they can right the ship with the swing. And that's, I mean, they've done a great job kind of manipulating and changing swings of guys. So if they can do that with him, he definitely could be an interesting player, especially because he comes from a good athletic family. Like his uncle played for the Eagles.
Mhm.
He was a Cape Cod League All-Star last year. So definitely a wide range of outcomes, and there's obviously risk with him. Given, I
Sure.
mean, you're talking about a college guy who hit almost 200 or just barely over 200 this year. But yeah, if they can kind of unlock something with his swing, then definitely becomes an interesting guy.
8th-rounder Conrad Kaysen is interesting. He's the two-way player we were discussing. He's a high schooler out of Georgia, Lilburn, Georgia. Um, Again, interesting in that he's a two-way player, very athletic. Obviously, they're going to develop him that way as a two-way player. It seemed like a lot more of the buzz on him, or a lot more of the heat on him, was on the mound as opposed to in the field. But he wants to do both, and they're going to let him do both. And he's got some interesting tools on the offensive side as well. This is not a we're going to let you play short until you realize you stink there type of situation. I don't think. But he's just a true athlete. It's like in we'll celebrate the return of NCAA college football in video games with he's an athlete. He's like the guy you recruit as an athlete and figure out what he is later. Very interesting pick. Very unlike a lot of picks they had. I mean, I think the last two-way guy they selected that they let do that was Casey Kelly, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I
but
can't remember.
that was he wasn't he was going to be a pitcher. Like
He
they
was
let him
going to
hit.
pitch. Yeah, that was one where we're going to like the plan they had for him was so clearly designed to submarine him on the offensive side of the ball that like it's no surprise the way it went. But yeah, Kaysen's an interesting guy. Like I said, from bet on athletes is one thing that I've learned in doing this, and that's an athlete right there.
Yeah, 3-sport guy, played basketball and football, so
I think
lightning quick
he
arm.
lettered in 4 sports. It said I don't know what the
So
4th
probably
sport was.
track, I would guess.
Probably
Would have to
track,
be.
maybe. Yeah.
But he's got a lightning quick arm. He's up to 100 or 99, 100. I think Devin said he was up to 100. He's got a commitment to Mississippi State, so I think this is your way over slot guy after the first few rounds. I like that he's very young. In terms of for a high school kid, like he's still 17, I believe. So yeah, he's gonna be 17 until August. So he was one of the like I think 5 or 6 youngest guys in the draft. So when you're looking, a lot of those models are age driven, and when you have a guy who has some standout skills, who also is really on the young side, that can really pop in a model. And Kaysen just it sounds like some scouts preferred him as a pitcher, but he got better at the plate, and I guess he was really good at the draft combine at the plate.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense to give him a chance both to figure out, what suits him best. And these things always work themselves out. Like, I mean, you look at or Bryce Eldridge with the Giants, like they're going to figure this out pretty quickly what he is. And I unless he's, showing in legit promise on both sides by the end of next year, I feel like we will know by the end of next year which way he's going to end up sticking with.
But yeah,
it's not, I'm just get as much talent as you can in the system. And if you're telling me you can get a guy who's a superb athlete with some pop, who also can throw it 100 miles an hour and has some decent feel for a breaking ball, like sign me up. I'm very curious to see what his report ends up, or sorry, his bonus ends up being.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue. This was definitely an unexpected pick, but someone who has a significant amount of upside, and it's going to be interesting, when we end up having to rank these guys, assuming they all sign. And I got a lot of questions about would he sign on Twitter. If you're taking a guy in the top 10 rounds, he's 99% chance, or 99.9% chance he's going to sign. I think last year 3 picks in the top 10 rounds did not sign.
Yeah. It can
So,
happen. He might not. Like, if there's a chance, but like if they're taking him on day 2, they have a feeling of what they think it's going to take to sign him at the very
yeah, I
worst,
mean,
if not.
I know the Red Sox obviously didn't sign John Fabian a couple of years ago. That was a completely different story, and that was because another team offered him way more money, and the Red
Well,
Sox
and
wouldn't come up to that number. So
I think some in the game would say that he was getting bad advice. I think, but
probably, but that's a different story.
whether they're correct or not, I'm not saying I agree with them. I'm just saying, like,
But yeah, like
I mean,
I
it
think
worked out fine for Fabian. He's with the O's
yeah.
now and doing okay. Like,
But yeah, no, Kaysen is definitely a yeah, he's a very interesting player, and be curious to see what his bonus ends up being. I wonder, like, I feel like this could approach like 750, maybe even $1 million.
yeah, I mean, he seems like the one guy who's going to get significantly over slot in this class.
Yeah.
Just to, I mean, because that's probably what it's going to take to sign him. Again,
But I
Mississippi
mean,
State, where he's committed, is a good program as well too.
another sign though that they are not worried about it. They didn't take any $2,500 seniors. Like,
Nope.
you look at, they did the same thing they did last year, where I bet the lowest bonus we see is 50K. So
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Right. Even like you go on to the 9th round pick Hudson White, like college junior was ranked by a few places. Same with Devin Futrell, who was the 10th round pick. So those are not, your prototypical money savers that we saw already signing today.
And I almost wonder if that's on purpose. I wonder if they've kind of looked at it and been like, why are we wasting a pick on a $5,000 guy just to save money to sign someone else when we can get someone for like 50K and like, is a guy, right? Like, I think they're I think it's getting away from wasting that pick just to save money.
Let's be honest too. Like, when you're saving money with those like 8th, 9th, 10th round picks, you're only saving what, 200K each,
Not even. Not
like,
even. Because if you look at the slot for the 10th round is 182.
Okay, so you're saving 175K, 150K. Like,
yeah,
it makes a lot more sense to do like cut a deal in the 2nd round with a guy for 1.2 million and save 500, 600K there.
Right. Yeah, you save a lot more money in the 2nd and 3rd round by still signing guys to big bonuses, right? Like, if you sign Brandon Neely to a $678,800 bonus, you're saving 200K right there. And you're still getting a guy who is a 600K guy, right? Yeah. As opposed to just a nothing burger of a 5K guy that like,
or like, I think we all agree, Hard is going to be under slot. Like,
probably going to be under slot. Yeah.
Like, that's like
in the 4th. Yeah, like they'll probably save a little bit of money on him. They'll probably save a little bit. I don't know what Tolley and Neely are going to take. Maybe they save a little bit of money on Tolley because that's 1.8 million. That's a lot of money. Yeah. Who knows what the heck Montgomery is going to sign for? If you told me he signs for like 5.8, I'd believe you. If you told me he signs for slot, I'd believe you. If you told me he signs for slot plus 5%, I'd believe you.
Montgomery could sign for anywhere between 5 million and 6 million, and I wouldn't be surprised. Even 6.2 million or something. Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
Moving on, 9th round pick. I kind of mentioned him earlier. Hudson White.
Yeah, Hudson White.
He's another interesting one because they drafted Kyle Teal, but I feel like they haven't taken a catcher late in the last few drafts. This might just be confirmation bias. I feel like they've been more like going to the undrafted free agent market for catchers.
Last year, that's Drew Earhart. They did that with
the year before was Matt Donlin.
Yeah, they did not take another catcher in last year's draft other than Teal. Of course,
I guess they haven't taken catchers. They're not catchers though. Like, they took Hickey. He's not really a catcher. They took Brooks Brandon. He's not really a catcher. But they haven't taken a defense first catcher other than Teal in the last few years. And that's kind of what Hudson White is. Like, he's someone that handled a ridiculously good pitching staff this year, probably better than what he'll be playing with when he enters the complex system.
Yeah. I mean, or at Salem. Yeah. I mean, it's drafting those college guys who've dealt with catching a good set of pitchers that's the value in those college catchers, right?
Yeah.
So,
and he's another Cape Cod League guy. Defense first, like solid receiving skills. It's arm kind of got mixed reports on. So
okay,
we'll see there. Some people were concerned about it. Others said it was fine. So kind of a wait and see with his arm. But yeah, as I said, knows how to catch quality pitching, and I think that's the most important thing. He's used to catching guys, as I said, that frankly were better than what he's probably going to be catching next year.
Mhm.
And at the plate, like another guy doesn't really strike out. Like he 15% strikeout rate, 12.5% walk rate, or 12.3% walk rate. OBP around 400. He can run into a fastball, run into a few home runs like there. But this is about the defense. If he can handle the pitching staff and develop into a good defense first catcher, that's what the aim is here, I think. And any offense you can get out of him is kind of a bonus.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the catchers in the low minors right now. In Greenville, it's 3 international signees. In Salem, it's Brannon, who they drafted in 2022. It's Daniel McElvany, who they drafted in 2021 as like a bat without a position, who they moved to catcher, as well as Diego Villoria, who's an international guy. And then the FCL is obviously all, international signees because that's basically all they have there. So yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, but that's a great point. The 10th rounder is Vanderbilt. It's not loading, but I think he's a lefty, right? Come on. Why is it? But
yeah, he's a lefty.
You'd say his name. They say his name because
Devin Futrell.
Thank you.
This is an interesting one to me because there's actually there's a connection to the Red Sox here. He went to American Heritage High School, which is the same high school as Tristan Costas, and he was there. I don't think he
isn't that Chatham too went there.
Probably.
CJ Chatham went there
or
too,
maybe Devin Marrero. I don't know. One of those two did,
or both.
But I don't know if he played with Tristan, but he definitely played with Tristan's brother, and they actually committed to Vanderbilt on the same day, which I thought was pretty funny. Because Enrique Bradfield also went to that high school and also committed to Vanderbilt on that day.
Huh.
But they were teammates in high school, and then they also played together at Vanderbilt because obviously Gavin started at Vanderbilt before ending up at South Carolina this year.
Yep.
But Futrell was like a highly regarded guy coming out of high school. Went to Vanderbilt, was solid. He was okay. This year was kind of, I think, little struggles. ERA was like 5.4, 1.3 WHIP, but 44 strikeouts, 10 walks. So throws strikes, has that command profile that you can build on. And that was something that I noticed a lot of. They didn't draft very many guys who don't throw strikes a decent amount of their time, at least with the fastball.
Right.
And he's like 88 to 91, tops out at 94, good changeup, slider, curveball also. And he's just another, big body. I think he's listed at 6'4", 6'5", 6'5", 218. So maybe you can get some more velo out of him. Worst case, maybe you get a lefty strike thrower. So I think that it's an interesting pick, and I like the strategy of also going to the well and taking those guys who were kind of highly regarded. As you mentioned, Clark was another guy like this coming out of high school who maybe didn't have the best college careers or didn't live up to expectations, but maybe once you get them in the dev system, you can unlock some potential because obviously coming out of high school, those guys were seen as pretty legit prospects.
Yep. Yeah, Futrell at 6'5", 218, another big dude. Although he doesn't look it as much as some of the other guys do in the videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to just like lightning round through day 3?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be the interesting thing to me is that I wouldn't be surprised if some of these guys that we're about to talk about signed for more or the same as like White, Futrell, guys like that.
Well, because the thing is on day 3. And it's actually kind of funny because I was talking to a scout recently and he's like, how did this guy get 150K? And I was like, because they can do that without it counting towards the pool if they're on a day 3, if they're a day 3 guy. And he was like, oh yeah, good point. So, yeah, these guys are probably all going to get at least 100K on day 3 because there's no reason not to.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I was just going to say, I think the interesting thing they did on day 3, at least at the start, was they took 3 pitchers who probably aren't going to pitch this year. And it's definitely one way to get talent in the system without it having to worry about the DRL during the season.
Yeah, the domestic reserve list. Did we talk about it at the top? I don't think we did.
No, I was going to do it after we finish all the picks. But
well, if you're going to bring it up now, I was going to say the domestic reserve list, as we have said, is capped at 165. These players, unlike in the past, before this CBA, draftees did not count if they were not playing yet. This year, draftees, once they sign, must be added to the domestic reserve list within 15 days, or if they play sooner, then obviously the day they play, the day they get added to an active roster, if they get sent to Salem, for example. Because of that, basically within 2 weeks of the draft, the Red Sox are going to have to create room. They can do that.
No, it's not 2 weeks within the draft. It's 2 weeks.
2 weeks of them signing. Yeah. Fine. Yeah.
So probably the signing deadline, because I bet they push all these right up.
They're probably going to push them all to August 1. Yep. By then, the Florida Complex League will be over, but it's what it is. What it is. The You could get guys off the domestic reserve list by either putting them on the long-term IL. The problem is that the 60-day IL is capped at 15 guys. There are 12 guys on it right now. One of them is Justin Reimer, who is rehabbing, and he'll come off of it. So they're only going to have 4 long-term IL spots left to put guys on for the 60-day, or they could put guys on the full season injured list, but that's more like if a guy gets Tommy John or like Johan Fran Garcia tearing his ACL. Those are the guys you put on the full season IL. It's not like there's a month left and this guy's not going to play. There are restrictions who you can put on there. So the other way is they're going to have to cut guys, and they're going to have to cut guys that are probably in not an insignificant amount, like at the affiliates right now. So you can minimize that, as Ian was saying, by taking guys in the draft who are going to go on the 60-day IL themselves, like Steven Brooks, the 11th rounder. So Brooks, Tygart, and Sprague you were referring to out of Cal Poly, Arkansas, and North Carolina?
I thought no, it was Tygart.
Oh, you said their first 3. So those are the first.
No, I said
picks.
3 of the first first
3
5.
of the guys, 3 of the
Yeah.
okay, got it.
But it's Bouchard, Tygart, and Gartrell are the 3. So it was the 15th, 14th, 12th, 12th, 14th, and 15th rounders.
Yep. All right-handers.
They all didn't end the season healthy. Tygart, maybe he comes back, but he hasn't pitched since he last pitched on May 23rd. He shut down with a shoulder injury. He's probably the most interesting guy in terms of the one I'm watching bonus wise after the 10th round. I think that
because he was top 200 guy, consensus top 200 guy.
Yeah, and he's definitely interesting. He's probably, there's a lot of reliever tendencies here, but really athletic, great feel for spin. He's got that riding fastball up to 95. Curveball is his best pitch. As you said, he's ranked pretty highly, and I know there are a lot of draft people that liked him as someone who maybe could move quick in a bullpen role. So he was a pretty interesting pick. And then I'll quickly hit on the 2 other TJ guys while we're at it. Alex Bouchard was their 14th round pick out of Lehigh. He had 2 appearances this year and then Tommy John surgery. He's an elite extension guy. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5", but
right now
he's 6'3", actually, excuse me. But he's up to 98, and he's like 7.4 feet of extension. So that's like up there with Tolley, as we talked about in the last episode. Going to be near the top of the system extension wise, and he's got a sweeper as well. So pretty interesting traits there. We'll see what he looks like when he comes back healthy, but I like that pick. And then Joey Gartrell is Tommy John as well. He had 4 starts before his injury. He's got that low release height. Fastball's like 93 to 94, throws a bunch of strikes. Good ride on that pitch too. And then TJ surgery there. He's out of Portland, Oregon, University of Portland in Oregon. So it's an interesting way to get guys into the system that maybe you weren't going to sign those guys, or you take a high schooler there that is like a backup plan. But now instead, since the domestic reserve list expands in the offseason, you can take those guys, stash them, and then you figure it out in the offseason. So I think that those are pretty interesting picks, and it's a creative way to add more talent to the system.
Do you want to just bop your way down the rest of these guys? Because I don't know anything about any of them except D'Angelo Ortiz.
Yeah, so we'll leave
completely
him,
honest.
We'll leave him for the end. Since I think that's an interesting one. But
so Steven Brooks in the 11th is 6'6". That's
6'6", 205. He was incredible to start the season. He only walked 3 guys in his first 36 innings, 36 and third actually. But from then he kind of got into trouble. I think he had 2+ walks and like 7 of 9 starts or something down the stretch. But for the season, opponents only hit 248 against him, 72 strikeouts, 23 walks, 1.23 ERA, 5.25. Excuse me, 1.23 WHIP, 5.25 ERA, and so that's good size. Maybe something you can build on there, because he was definitely he was dealing at the beginning of the season. 13th round pick was Shea Sprague, who's a local product. He's a Massachusetts native. He's from Hanover, I believe.
Yeah, Hanover, but went to UNC.
Shout out Mike Monaco for saying that Sprague knew what the Hanover Mall was, because I know exactly what the Hanover Mall is as well. So that was not a reference I expected to be hearing during the draft, but he went to BC High. Lefty, 6'3", fastball's 88 to 91. Changeup is best pitch. Really good changeup. Good metrics on it. another Cape Cod League guy. And he was good for UNC this year, 70 strikeouts, 18 walks, and 78 in a third innings. So another seems like someone who can, bring in, eat innings, throw strikes, guys you need in the minors when you have just a smaller pitching staff. You can't, it's hard to carry a lot of one inning or, short stint guys. So if you can get guys who could throw strikes and get through, multiple innings efficiently, that's very important in this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
16th round pick.
To the 16th, right?
Yeah. 16th round pick was Griffin Killander.
6'5", 205.
Yep. D2 righties up to 94, throw strikes again.
Wayne State's D2?
Yep.
Why did I think they were D1? Interesting.
I don't know. But yeah, throw strikes.
He's from Livonia. Interesting. Like a
ERA was 4, 1.32 whip, 81 strikeouts, 21 walks. So good size, decent fastball, throw strikes. Pretty similar to what we've been describing with a lot of these guys. This is where things got a little interesting to me. 17th round pick, Jan Cruz, 6'1", 6'2", 180-pound left-handed hitter. He's young too. I think he's 17. Projectable frame. He's got, plus speed. Definitely needs that strength. I watched the video of him hitting. He's pretty string beanie physically. But he was ranked 10th overall in the Puerto Rico by Perfect Game. And he's committed to, I think, a junior college, Gulf Coast State College. So seems like he could be signable. But, projectable frame, who knows? Get him in the system and see what happens. 18th round pick was Cole Tolbert, who's an Ole Miss righty, exceptionally threw 4 2/3 innings this year. I think I thought he was in the transfer portal. I think Mike said he's committed to Troy for next season.
Yes,
but he's playing for Kenosha in the Kenosha, in the Northwoods League this summer, and he's been good there. What?
No, I was saying like he's like when you said Kenosha, I was like, okay, that makes much more sense.
Got it. 35 2/3 innings, 3.28 ERA, 1.29 WHIP. 44 strikeouts, 10 walks, low 90s fastball, curveball, 6'4" again, so good size. So pretty interesting that, you're taking someone who didn't really pitch at all in college, but has had a good summer. So clearly showed something there. And then before we get to D'Angelo, 20th round pick was Ben Hansen out of BYU, 6'6" righty, fastball up to 96 with a cutter. His stats were really bad this year. He was 72 innings, 6.63 ERA, 1.71 WHIP. But he's been working out at one of the pitching factories since this college season ended, and they've kind of revamped his entire arsenal. So he kind of sounds similar to what the Red Sox have been targeting with these undrafted free agents. If you get the good TrackMan data, just take your chance on him. And for a 20th round pick, definitely seems like an interesting guy to follow. Yeah. So that's all the position players, and then the big one.
The pitchers, you mean?
Yeah, the pitchers. You want to talk about D'Angelo?
I literally just know that he's Ortiz's son. I mean, that's about it. I mean, I know he's a third baseman. Devin Pearson swore up and down that it wasn't just a nepotism pick. They picked him because they think that he's a prospect.
But even if it was, who cares? Like, good for him.
I think sure.
Yeah. I don't think. Yeah. I just think that it doesn't matter. Like,
no, it doesn't matter.
And like,
it's the 19th round pick. I mean,
yeah. And I mean, he had a good year for Miami-Dade this year. He was, 377, 467, 434, 29 walks, 21 strikeouts, 6'1", 190-pound right-handed hitter. Seems like good on base skills, got some contact skills. Who knows? Get him in the system and see what maybe that you can unlock some power potential, because that seems like the biggest thing is he just doesn't have a lot of pop right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's way more pressure on him being in this system than someone else's system, right? Because there's just so much more expected out of David Ortiz's son in Boston than anywhere else. I mean, even in Salem, in Greenville, and then if he gets to New England and he's in Portland, get ready for the media circus, because it's going to be there. You thought the Blaze Jordan attention was high. Imagine if D'Angelo Ortiz becomes a guy. That's going to be a big spotlight on him. So, I mean, they apparently feel comfortable that he can handle it. So, it's interesting. It's very interesting. I mean, I can remember it puts pressure on them too. Cause let's say it's not working out. Do you want to be the person that cuts David Ortiz's kid? Hopefully, that doesn't happen. Obviously don't want that with anyone, but that's a lot of pressure. So there does have to be some conviction. If it's not a situation where look, they've drafted sons of guys who are on Fenway Sports Group's board, right? Everyone knows
those guys were not prospects.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone knows that this guy's going to go to Lowell. He's going to play in Lowell for 2 years and he's going to retire. He's going to, you know what I mean? Everyone knows what the deal is there. This, it's if they're saying he's a guy,
Well, he
It's
also, I think Devin
different.
said that he worked out for them again recently, like right
Mhm.
before the draft, and was impressive. So yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, he's it's hard to say now. Like he was
it
at a
is.
community, he was at a JUCO or
He was at
and
Miami-Dade
yeah,
Community College, which is a good baseball school, I
yeah,
believe.
and he was
So
one of their better hitters. So
yeah. So
we'll wait and see. We'll see what he looks like probably next spring.
yeah, yeah, 100%. We'll see. I'm guessing you don't have anything on Calvin Bickerstaff yet, the UDFA that got
Well,
reported.
he throws a ton of strikes. I think he walked 5 guys all season.
Yeah,
So,
well, there you go.
that's you need guys who throw strikes in the minor
Yeah,
leagues, and he seems like someone who can definitely do that.
yeah. It does strike me. I mean, is this fair to say that like for the arms, because there's so many of them, it's like it's not like they just targeted guys they think they can add velo to, or
No, I
like
mean they have
because
some guys
everyone's
throwing like
saying like,
mid to high
oh,
90s already.
yeah, and it's like it's not like because Breslow said we can teach velocity. Well, it's like I was listening to an interview with Paul Taboni. It was actually not the pretend to left. I'll give credit where it's due, where he was talking about like biomechanically for every guy, like what we can or cannot teach you is going to be different, right? Like we don't want to say, like you said, like with a hitter, we can teach you contact, or we can't teach you contact, but we can teach you power, or vice versa. Like it's different for everyone biomechanically.
Well, I mean that's why you look at some of the guys they take. Like some of them have really good feel for spin.
Yeah,
Others have really good ride on their fastballs. Others have a really good extension. Like all those guys are going to have different development plans and different points of emphasis,
yep.
and kind of lending yourself to what Taboni said. And
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
why it's like it's not a with pitching, and it's not a one size fits all approach. Like there are several different traits that you can look at, and then it's about improving the other areas of their games respectively. And it's going to vary from pitcher to pitcher.
Right, right. So we'll see where it goes. It's the point you made, Ian, that I don't think we've actually talked about yet. They might sign all of these guys. Like we talked about how there's no hard signs, but like usually, like they don't sign everyone. There's like the
Well,
two
they didn't take. Usually, they take one high schooler
on
in
day
at least
three,
one. At least one.
the
Like
backup plan.
last year they took 3, for example, and those are the guys
Yep.
they don't sign. They didn't take that unless maybe Juan Cruz doesn't or Jan
Yep.
Cruz doesn't sign.
But I
But
can't
like
see. I
last,
mean, the Puerto Rican kids sign. Like,
yeah. Well, I'm looking at last year. So last year they took Phoenix Call in
yep.
the 15th round, who's going to UCLA. They took Dylan Schlegel, who went to Dallas Baptist in the 17th round, and they took Robert Orlowski, who went to UTSA in the 20th round. And those 3 didn't sign. Those were the only guys they didn't sign after or in the entire draft last year.
Yep.
Go back to 2022. Trade Travis Sanders in the 14th round, Texas Tech, Gavin Killian, Louisville, who's one of the could be a first round pick next year.
Yep.
They were the only 2 guys who didn't sign. Like usually that's what you're looking at of who doesn't sign, and they don't have that this year. So unless like
No.
one of the college arms isn't going to sign, which I think if you're taking a college arm like that, usually they're going to sign.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but I also don't hate it because when you look at this front office, they've done a great job with pitching right now, and now they're getting a chance, their first real chance to add guys that fit what they look for in arms in bulk. Up to now they've basically been working with what they inherited. And
Right.
obviously they've made some noticeable changes and improved, really done a really good job developmentally with some of the guys in the system. They've
Yep.
also gone out and got a few guys too in a trade. I mean, you look at the top 2 of the top 3 arms in the system were acquired via trade in Richard Fitz and Sandlin. But now, they were able to go out and they just picked 13 pitchers and a 2-way guy. We'll just call it 14 pitchers that fit what they're looking for in development staff. And I do wonder if we're going to see that for the foreseeable future to kind of get some turnover and get their guys in at the low minors and start, getting them going through the system.
Yeah. You actually reminded me of a point I was hoping to make where like the only other guys that they've acquired are the like TrackMan data, like free agents they signed in like February and March, right? The like Connor Steinbaugh and Cooper Adamses of
Yeah,
the
Danny
world,
Kerwin.
Danny Kerwin, right? Michael Sansone. And like they'd sign this random guy out of indie ball and he'd be like, yeah, he threw like 100 last week at his like pitching facility. Or, there's some like thing like, it's clearly not a scouting sign. It's a like, yeah, we looked at some number that he put up guy type situation. And it's like, was that a hint of what they're looking for? Where it's like, there's a trait. Okay, we know this guy does this. Can we add to make him a pitcher? As opposed to a guy who does this one thing. Was that kind of a tip off of these are like better versions of that potentially, right? They're not 25, right? They're not 25 and A ball. These are guys coming out of college. There's more clay to work with here. But I thought that was interesting thinking back to that of like, was that the a tip off of how they're going to value these pitchers? And we'll see. It is interesting because like, especially looking at like that FCL team, for example, right? Like the strength of that team is the position players, pretty much. I mean, they have some good pitchers, but like, when you looked at least when they had like Cespedes there, but like Franklin Arias, Andrew Musette is decent. They've got some hitters who are going to move up. The pitchers, there were a bunch of them, but it's like Ovis Portes already moved up, Juan Valera pretty good, and they've got some other interesting arms there. But like, there's a lot of chaff on that roster that like, they could easily fill in with some of these guys. So it's interesting to see how it'll be interesting to see how this plays out going forward. If this is a draft strategy they're going to have under Craig Breslow, and how this is going to affect things going forward, because you look at it on the converse, like in Salem and in Greenville, you've kind of got this log jam at some positions where like, maybe they would have guys they would be getting shortstop reps who they can't because they've got two other guys they want to get shortstop reps, that kind of thing. So we'll see how they play it. We'll see how they play it.
And I think the other thing is, and it's something kind of taking it back to that article I wrote in the offseason about the Red Sox draft strategy. Like there's a chance. I mean, it depends what Tolley gets as a bonus. He might get a bigger bonus than all the pitchers they took in the top 10 rounds combined last year.
Yeah.
So I think that we'll have to see what the final numbers come out. But I'm curious how many of these pitchers are going to end up making more than 600K, which was the previous high bonus amount. So,
well, did you see that message, the post on our forum that I sent to you on let me see. I messaged you. There's a poster in our forum, who did the numbers, and I haven't double checked these to be fair, but our forum poster WVU Sox. He's got a West Virginia logo, so WVU being West Virginia University Sox. He looked at the current Sox prospects top 60. Okay, there are currently 27 position players and 33 pitchers. Okay, breakdown of signing bonuses for the position players. 27 of them. Signing bonuses add up to $37.43 million. Okay. That's an average of $1.39 million per position player, which is skewed by like Marcelo Meyer. Roman Anthony got like 2 point something,
2.9 or 2.6, something like
that. Teal skews that, right? So, the first rounders being there, even like Mikey Romero as a former first rounder. The pitchers, the 33 pitchers, 5.49 million, an average of 170K each, which is obviously skewed the other way by like the IFAs that are on there, like Luis Perales, right? Having a 5-figure bonus. But that said, like Marcelo Meyer got a larger bonus alone than the 33 pitchers in our top 60 got combined. I thought that was a wild number.
I mean, it makes sense though. Like when I did all like the
exactly. It went to what you did. Yeah.
And it was like 81% of their bonuses have gone to position players.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they just don't spend money on pitchers, or they hadn't lately. I mean,
they hadn't, right.
You look at, in the last, from the last 6 years, they'd given 18 bonuses to hitters of over 500K. In that same time spot, they've given 4 to pitchers, and they haven't given a single one since 2020.
Right.
So like, that's just what they've been doing. And you look at this draft, and I think there could be greater than 600K, at least 3 pitchers, maybe 4. At least if I put the number of pitchers who got more than, and I'm counting Kaysen as a pitcher in this, at 3.5 for over 600K, how many are you taking? I think it might be more.
What is it? How many of the guys they drafted get over 600K?
Yeah, of the pitchers, because Tolley's definitely getting it.
Yeah, Tolley's definitely,
in my opinion, definitely getting it. I think Neely's getting it. And then I think at least one of Clark. I think Clark probably gets it. Then this is the question is, do Clark or Tiger maybe, or someone get over 600K? That's
Tiger,
the tricky one.
Tiger. I don't think they're going to have that much for Tiger.
So, yeah. So I don't know. I think at least 3 of them are, which would be obviously when you had 4 in 6 years combined, and now you've got 3 in one class. Like there's definitely been an emphasis on the pitching.
Tygart's not the tough sign, is he? as a college junior, it would be weird.
Yeah,
But
but he's
like,
like, I mean, he's a top 200 guy.
well,
Like
no, that's what I'm saying.
he's
Like,
gonna get at least 300K probably,
yeah,
maybe
he'll get over
350.
slot for sure.
I just think of tough side, I'm just saying like guys who are gonna get over slot in the last
No, but I'm saying how we
after the 10th
talked about
round.
how there wasn't the guy who's like the fallback if
No,
someone in the first 2 days
no, I
doesn't
doubt
sign.
it.
It's not him,
Because
right?
no, when I think of that, I think of like Gavin Killian, like a guy who
Oh,
it,
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, like look at like how much they gave like Brendan Chalucci and who was the other guy they gave over slot that year when they didn't sign Sebastian Keane. Um, it was Chalucci and Blake Lubier, who I guess was a high schooler. But like Chalucci was a draft eligible sophomore. They gave an over slot bonus too. That was like, what did he get? Like 500K, I think. So
no, he
um,
was Salucci got 340 and
he got
Keenan got
340. Most of it got to
500,
Lubier.
or Lubier got 500. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I
Okay.
mean, but with speaking of Keen, like great example of why if you're a high schooler and you get offered that much money, you probably should take it because
Yeah.
I don't think he got drafted this year.
No, that went the wrong way. That wasn't good. All right. Anything else on the draft, Ian? I think the only other kind of news, I guess, would be talking about the domestic reserve list. I guess we should have brought this up earlier. Did I mention that Yoel and Cespedes and right-handed reliever in Greenville, Cade Feeney, were both put on the 60-day IL recently? That effectively ends their seasons because Cespedes isn't going to be eligible to come back until like there's a week of the season left. He's not going to. And then Cade Feeney's literally eligible the day before the season ends. And so they're not going to do that either. So those are two more spots that they made available on the domestic reserve list by by transferring those guys from the 7 to the 60-day. So and that's really all that's happened news wise. The only other thing is Justin Slayton going on the IL. Bullpen's starting to get a little thin at the top, Ian. Relying on Kenley Jansen, and this is another, like, people are wondering if they're going to trade Kenley Jansen anyway. I think at this point, if there was any inkling that they might do that, I think that ship has sailed. I don't know what you think, just with the pitching injuries they've had, just showing like how quickly the back end of the bullpen can thin out.
I don't think, I don't think with where they are at, you can trade Kenley with Martin and Slayton as your top two other leverage guys on the IL. And if anything, I think they need to go out and add a reliever right now. So I think that ship has sailed with how they're playing, and that now with the injuries to their top two lieutenants or setup guys.
Mm-hmm. And with how good Kenley's been, I mean, he's been nails. He should have made the All-Star team probably.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild to think about with how he started. So, I guess the only other kind of news, it was kind of cool, Ian, to see Jarren Duran win the All-Star Game MVP. That was pretty cool. It was cool to see Roman Anthony win the Futures Game hitting skills challenge.
Kind of showed how flawed that format is.
Yeah, basically just by hitting a bunch of home runs in a row in the last round, because I think he didn't have any points after the first round, and he had
because the first round basically was a bunting contest. It was and then the second round was I think, I don't know, hitting the like targets
hitting
or something.
Targets, yeah.
No, the first round was targets. The second round was like
targets. Yeah.
was like hitting into a certain part of the field or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, anyway, you had hit left, then center, then right, and then just call your shot. Yeah.
The point was he hit a bunch of home runs and won, which is I think what they should do. Just have a home run.
Just have a home run hitting contest. Yeah. Have a home run derby.
And I think JJ Cooper had this idea. Have a home run derby that's a qualifier for one of the MLB home run derby spots.
Yeah,
like
that'd be cool.
I mean, how cool would that be if Roman Anthony then now went and matched up with like Pete Alonso in the actual MLB home run derby?
Well, you know what's funny is because like the year that Nats Park hosted the All-Star Game, I went to the home run derby, and that was the year that Bryce Harper won it in DC, which was awesome. During the breaks between rounds, like the breaks between one of the rounds was the high school home run derby finals. It was Bobby Witt against Rhys Hines, which in hindsight, I'm like, okay, that's cool. The guy I saw win the high school home run derby is in the real one now. Like that, I was able to say that to like my in-laws. And Rhys Hines, who just came up and
has like 4 home runs in 6 games or something with a slug of like 2,000.
Right. So like, but that's cool. And like, you're telling me like no fan's going to be like, who the hell is this guy? It's going to be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, let's see if this guy becomes a thing, and they can say you saw this guy in the home run derby. Like, yeah, 100%. I mean, JJ Cooper's smart like with that stuff.
Yeah.
But that's a
but
that's
I just think
idea.
it's I like the steps MLB's starting to take. They're finally starting to catch up into some of these things that are pretty easy wins. I think that would be a massive win, especially when it seems like they're having trouble filling the home run derby field already. So you might as well just give a spot to just have a futures game, have a home run derby afterwards, and give a spot to the guy who wins it. Like, seems like a massive win all around.
Although you then wonder if teams, I mean, because then it's like, that guy's going to have to stick around Texas. Like, I think
the teams aren't playing anyway, so who cares?
Well, the reason it matters, and this is part of why, I guess it's another thing that we should mention, like, we have projected that potentially over the All-Star break, there might be a lot of promotions. I asked around a little bit. What I was told is that this is not going to be the kind of jailbreak of promotions. There's going to be some guys moving, mostly pitchers. But then I thought about it, and it's like the 4-day All-Star break is basically the one vacation these guys get all year during the year. I think they want to give that vacation to guys without them having to worry about moving. So I think that's part of it. And so it's like, like I was listening to Marcelo Meyer at the like prospect pad, and he was talking about how like they're all looking forward to like, this is the only time they're going to get to go home and see their families. This is the only time they're going to get to like go home and see their friends. And then he mentioned, it was really funny. He told a really funny story about how like Kyle Teal went up to him and he was like, "Hey, do you think that the team would let me go down to Fort Myers to hit in the cages with the traject machine?"
That's the most Kyle Teal thing to say ever.
The most Kyle Teal. Yes. He's just a baseball rat. But he was talking about how like, look, like not everyone's built like that. And I like AJ Pierzynski was there and he was saying like, yeah, I tried to be that guy, but I couldn't when I was playing. And it's like, Pedroia was, but not everyone's like that.
I mean, that's like Kyle Teal during rain delays is like, just get me in the cage.
Yeah.
It's like the game's obviously going to be canceled. And he's like, no, I need to put some cage work in.
Yeah. Yeah. So I thought that was funny. But yeah, like point being, like this is their one break all year.
So what you're saying is the big three will be in Portland to start the second
big
half.
Three are officially or not officially I was told they will be.
You could have got in trouble with that one.
Yeah, not officially. I was told they will be in Portland after the break.
So I'm going to make a prediction.
Okay.
I think they will play the 3-game series at home as they're going away and then go up because they go on the road.
I think that could happen. I also could see them waiting to do just a huge chain promotion.
Worcester's also away though.
Well, because here's what I was going to say. I think when the FCL ends is when we see a lot of guys pushed up.
Yeah, Worcester. So Worcester's away until I think you're probably right actually because both Worcester and Portland are gone the next week.
They've promoted guys on.
No. But let me finish. But when the FCL season ends, like around the 30th of July, which is also right around the trade deadline, both those teams return.
Well, that's
home.
the other thing too, is the trade deadline might open up some roster spots.
I think you're right. It might wait, but
it might wait till the end of the month.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because of the logistics of it. Because, for example, like, I mean, there might be room. Like, look, no one is blocking Kyle Teal. No one is blocking Marcelo Meyer or Roman Anthony. They're going to make room for them to play. Right. And I could see the path to playing time for all of them in Worcester. But it's also just easier because it's like you then have to backfill behind them. Who are you backfilling on the Portland roster with, at catcher, at shortstop? There's a lot of kind of logistical questions that like, look, those three are kind of different. They're going to go, like, I could see them going, or maybe two of them or one of them or something. I think they'll probably try to do all three at once, but I could see, maybe they do Teal and Meyer and leave Anthony for a little longer to marinate. But I think they try and do all three at once. And I think that they're not going to rush it because, look, I don't think there's really any chance any of them play in Boston this year. And if that's the case, there's no need to rush them to Worcester. They're going to get there. They're going to get the whole month of August. Worcester plays through September 22nd. They're going to get basically 2 full months if they're there for all of August and most of September. That's fine.
And yeah, it's not going to change when they're ready for the big leagues if they don't go up till AAA until the end of the month, for example.
Yep. So I think we might see kind of a chain promotion when like the FCL ends and you get Franklin Arias going up to Salem and Andrew Musset and maybe Cleaver Salazar, maybe Starlin Nunez. I don't know. But some group of guys goes up to there. That pushes some guys from Salem up to Greenville, so on and so forth. So we'll see. Should we do emails? Again, you can hit us up at podcast@soxprospects.com because we want to talk about what you all want to hear about. And our first email this episode comes from Zachary. Ian, Zachary asks, first he jokes that there's a status update on Noah's song, and I didn't throw my phone, even though I wanted to the first time I saw it. But anyway, he says, apologies if I missed the discussion on this, but Marvin Alcantara has been falling like a rock in your rankings. By contrast, Eric Longenhagen has him at 12 in the system. Is this because of a change in your outlook on his offensive profile, or the system getting stronger around him, pushing him down? What do you see as the likelihood of his bat becoming major league average for a shortstop? And I think, Ian, that he gets to it with that last question. Is the bat is the bat too light for the glove to carry him up to the majors?
Yeah, I mean, I think that people can have different evaluations of players. When I look at Alcantara, I don't think he's going to hit enough. He's definitely trending in the right direction, at least like exit velo wise.
He's been better
stronger this
too.
year. Yeah, he's been better recently, but like he's still above average chase rate, like in the bad direction above average. Zone contact rate is below average. Yeah, I don't buy the offensive upside, and I just don't think there's enough projection with the frame that it can like the defense is going to matter enough, basically.
Yeah.
It could, maybe, I mean, when I see him, hopefully later this year, maybe my tune will change. But like for the years, 287 slug, 287 OBP. It's just hard for me to get excited, even if that guy maybe can play shortstop or at least can stay up the middle. You just got to show a little more juice with the bat, and I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I mean, even his best month was June. He hit 295, which is nice for Alcantara, but like 311 on base, 386 slugging. So like his best small sample of 1 month this year was a 697 OPS.
Yeah, then I mean, in July he's back down under 600 again.
Yeah, and in July, 34. Like I mean, and that's all based on an on base percentage. He's got a 353 on base. With 5 walks and a hit by pitch in 9 games. The slug he doesn't have he didn't have a single extra base hit in 9 games in July. So
yeah, there's there's other guys I like more than him. I just don't trust the bat.
Yeah, and I mean the team's telling you something too when you've got like Zanatello and Antonio Anderson getting shortstop reps ahead of him. He's really just not getting very many shortstop reps with both of them on the roster. So like clearly they, even with the amount that Zanatello and Anderson have struggled, they're treating the two of them like more important prospects than Alcantara. So thank you for the question though, Zachary. I like getting these emails about guys we don't necessarily focus on too much. Got a question from Sam here, Ian, and he says, wanted to get your thoughts on Tyler O'Neill. If the Sox choose to keep him past the deadline, do you see him as a QO guy? He's been banged up a bit this year and streaky too, but as of right now, he's got an 840 OPS, gives the Sox a righty bat they need, and has good versatility within the outfield. Would he take the QO? Would you offer an extension instead, or even just let him walk? Thanks again. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. I think he takes a QO in a second. I don't think he thinks twice about it.
I agree.
He's not a QO guy. No. I
also, he's not really someone I'd look to extend. I think that what he does, you can find on the free agent market.
Well, they need to clear space in the outfield. Like adding an outfielder right now is not the move, I don't think.
Well, no, I don't think he's saying that. I think he's saying for the offseason because
he's saying for the offseason, but that's what I'm saying is like,
but like you're not adding with O'Neill. You would be subtracting. He's already there.
You're subtracting. Sure. I guess I worded it poorly, but it's like, you've got Duran, Abreu, and you want to play Rafael out there. Like that takes care of itself. You get the right-handed hitter in the infield with your shortstop in theory. Although that's going to be Meyer soon.
But the problem is that, that's why like the current team is I mean, this is a discussion for the offseason, but they're going to have to figure something out because it's not the left-right split they have is not sustainable right now.
They're going to have to make a tough trade.
They're going to have to trade one of the outfielders, whether it be Anthony, Abreu or Duran. And I don't think it's going to be Duran, and I don't think because Rafael doesn't help though because he's a righty.
I guess that's true.
Trading him doesn't do anything.
I guess that's true.
And you're not going to trade. You're not going to trade Rafael with that contract. Like you just sign him to an extension. You're not going to move him. It's going to, and realistically, it's probably going to be Abreu would be my guess. But they need a right-handed hitter. I just think what O'Neill does is pretty replaceable. And worst case, if not, you can probably bring him back on a relatively modest contract, like 2 years, 22 million, something like that. You don't need to give him the 120 or whatever the the QO will be.
All right. Our next question is from the Sloop John B. And he says, "Hi, guys. Baseball could use more fun nicknames. And historically, the Red Sox have had some really good ones: Big Poppy, Boomer, Spaceman, etc. This is why I love the fact that Yostinson Garcia has embraced the password. And if Merlin Beto grows into a big time prospect from the DSL, there's no doubt he'll become the Wizard. But other than Garcia, are there any other prospects with fun nicknames? If not, have you ever thought about asking players if they have one or want one? I'm sure the forums would help with the latter." John B. Thanks for the email, John. I don't know of other nicknames in the system. I know that they're so unimaginative. Like the Portland guys are calling Christian Campbell Barry Bonds, which because he hits the ball so hard. He's played so well recently. I mean, I'm not going to ask a guy if he wants a nickname. I don't know if you've got any ideas for nicknames for guys in the system, Ian. I was thinking maybe, if folks want to email us their ideas for nicknames. I mean, for example, you've already got like Blaze Jordan's name is Blaze. He doesn't need a nickname, right? So
Yeah.
there you go. His name's Blaze.
I don't go into the clubhouse either, which is where you find that stuff out. So
yeah.
But no, I don't know of any. I think that
if anybody's got some, send them. Yeah, send them and we'll evaluate them.
The password is a very fun nickname.
Password's great.
I think I like that. I think it seems like Blake Wehunt has kind of embraced his chicken farmer status. Yeah.
Yep. The chicken farmer.
He's been. I shout out to him. He's been really good the last couple of starts too with Greenville.
He's been very good lately. Kind of yeah.
Yeah, after like a little bit of a slow start. But it's definitely fun, and I'm all for anything that can kind of connect fans with players with fans more, kind of boost that engagement, but also keep everyone keep it on the fun side, the lighter side, because at the end of the day, this should be fun too. It's it should baseball's an escape for a lot of people, so let's make it fun.
Mm-hmm. Our next email, I'm gonna kind of shorten it a little bit because it's a little long. But it's a few questions from Sparky, and he asks a few things. One of the things he asked is about what 90% exit velo means. He doesn't understand that. So I think what he's referring to is when we refer to a guy's 90th percentile exit velocity, what we're referring to is, so if you understand the concept of what percentiles are, you put a chart of every exit velo it's just on batted balls, right? So on their batted balls, what the 90th percentile exit velocity is. So you're kind of removing sort of outliers at the top, and it's not an average. It's showing like on the higher end, but not like a max exit velocity, what your hardest hit balls are like. And that's a metric that teams use to see when a guy connects, what the exit velocity is on the high end. Is that a fair enough description, Ian?
Yeah, and the reason it's used is because the data has shown that it's a far more sustainable and reflective number than the max or the middle, like the median. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's the one that kind of gets cited and is the most predictive, I think, of the exit velocity metrics. Or the other thing, one of the most predictive. I shouldn't say the most, but one of the most.
One of them. Yep. Yeah. It's like, I mean, the numbers the teams are using, and the Red Sox clearly, based on what they've been doing, it's like that zone contact chase rate. Are really kind of a
well, but they also the thing is that they also have their own ones. They also have metrics that they create on their own. Yeah,
sure. And the other thing he asks about, he asks about, can you end the next pod with a review of some guys you haven't mentioned but are performing? And he names some guys, and we can talk about those guys. But I was just gonna say, like, if you all want to hear about someone specifically, like, email us the name, because if we're not mentioning them, there might be a reason why we're not. So he's mostly referring to guys who are in Salem or who have spent most of the year in Salem, Ian. So for example, he says, I looked at Matt Duffy and his stats look great. Duffy on the year, I don't know if I necessarily agree that they're great. They're pretty good in his first pro season. Duffy is 22. He was their 4th round pick last year out of Canisius in the 4th round. In 15 starts this year, he's got a 3.62 ERA, 60 strikeouts to 21 walks, and 64 and 2/3 innings. I mean, he's been fine, Ian. He's been better as of late. I mean, his last few starts have been very good. June, it wasn't great. I mean, June in 4 starts, it was a whip above 1.62 and an ERA of 4.86, but he did have 23 strikeouts to 10 walks and 6 2/3 innings. He's been okay. I would call it, I'm whelmed. I'm not underwhelmed. I'm not overwhelmed. He's doing good for a guy in his first pro season, I think is kind of what I would say about Duffy. You got anything to add on him?
No, not really. I think that he's one that kind of just got caught in the numbers game where they just have way too many pitchers for the low minors right now. And
Mm-hmm.
he probably should be in Greenville, but you know, there are other guys that are ahead of him that have gotten the call. I think he's got some interesting traits. He's good at good extension. As you said, doesn't there's a lot of strikes. Just doesn't miss a lot of bats, but he's got some. He's definitely interesting. We'll see what happens when he gets promoted to Greenville, which I have a feeling I would assume he'll end the season at some point and he'll get up there. So
Yeah,
we'll see what happens once
he'll
that.
probably get up there. Yeah. Another guy he mentioned as far as having good numbers, and he definitely does, is Danny Kerwin. Kerwin was a guy that they signed this past offseason as a minor league free agent in April. He pitched at Ryder in undergrad, graduated last year, and they signed him. I think is he the one that was about to? Yeah, he signed with the Oakland Ballers, but before he got a chance to play with them, he signed with Boston in April. Based on like TrackMan data. He's been pretty good in Salem in 37 and 2/3 innings, which has mostly been in a piggyback role in relief. 3.82 ERA, 35 strikeouts to 18 walks in 37 and 2/3 innings, which is pretty good. WHIP is 1.06. The OPS against is under 600, which is really good. Average against is 169, so guys aren't really squaring him up. It's just the walks, the 18 walks and 37 and 2/3 is too many. But he's been fine. The thing is, he's 24. That's old for Salem, and that's the thing with some of those guys like him. I think Connor Steinbaugh is pretty old as well. Michael Sansone, some of those guys they're pretty old for the level. Guys like that, I need to see them get to Double-A before I really care all that much. I don't know if you've got anything, if you've heard anything on Kerwin, Ian. I haven't really heard a whole lot on him.
I would just say I don't know if care is the right word, but yeah, it's
not
like
care,
monitor,
but it's
but they do need to get up to like Double-A because I mean we talk about it over and over again. Just the low minors just not very good right now, and so if you're a pitcher, it's almost more concerning if you're not being like good, or excuse me, it's concerning if you're not putting up very good numbers, basically because the bats are just not very good that you're facing.
Yep.
And with Kerwin, like he's got some interesting like pitch mix. Like he's primarily a cutter guy, throwing a lot of cutters, velos like low 90s. So again, it's kind of a wait and see until he gets up gets that promotion. But yeah, I mean, he's missing bats. He's walking a few too many guys, as you said. Gets a decent number of grounders, but yeah, it's just hard. It's just hard to evaluate pitchers in the low minors right now, and especially when they're 5-6 years older than some of the guys they're facing.
Yeah, and then you asked about a couple more guys. These guys we have a little more on. The first one's Max Carlson, reliever in Salem, who's been very good in Salem in 42 and a third innings. He's got a 2.13 ERA, 59 strikeouts to 15 walks in 42 and a third innings. He did get a very brief move up to Greenville at a time when they were just really shorthanded, and in one outing and 1 2/3, gave up a run on a hit and 2 walks. I think it wouldn't surprise me if he's in Greenville after the break. He's just the guy that probably needs to get up there. Guy they drafted out of the University of North Carolina last year. The interesting thing with him, Ian, is his fastball has been not a lot better than advertised, but it's been one. Maybe I think you said it was one of the better fastballs in the system this year based on some metrics.
Just metrically, he's got crazy extension. He's like 7.2 feet. I think it's top 5 in the system in extension.
That sounds right. Yeah,
second of minor leaguers, I think. He's only like low 90s, he's like 92, 93, but his swinging or his miss rate on his fastball is, I think, first in the system or maybe second. Yeah, it's first in the system.
It's one of the best pitches in the system by that. Yep. I remember that.
So he can miss a ton of bats. He's got good IVB. It's like, above average IVB, 18, 19 inches.
Remind folks, IVB, induced vertical break. So how much it, quote unquote, rises.
Exactly. So it's basically how you get that riding carry life at the end, or carry at the end, that generates life up in the zone where you can get those swing and misses.
Yep.
So he's got a really good fastball metrically, and secondary stuff seems like it's kind of a work in progress, but when you have a fastball like that, that's the kind of stuff that can carry you. That's something the Red Sox look for, is a fastball like that.
Yep.
So he checks the boxes of what kind of like modern pitching looks for. So yeah, he's definitely, I think we have him ranked, I believe.
Yeah, he's ranked.
So he's definitely someone on our radar who's definitely interesting.
Yep. And I'll pull the ranking number.
I'll just call it. I would not be surprised at all if he's someone that they get asked about at the deadline, because
that's true. Because teams will ask about a guy like that.
It's like Marquise Johnson last year.
Yep. Yeah. Great point. Great point.
Numbers didn't look good, but the Giants went out and got him, and he was very good with them. I think he's hurt now, but
yeah,
because he checked a lot of those pitch data boxes, and Carlson definitely checks some of those boxes too.
Yep. Carlson is 49 on the most recent rankings update. And the last guy he asks about is a guy that's 10 ahead of him at number 39, who's the chicken farmer himself, Blake Wehunt, up in Greenville, who we were just talking about, has been very good lately in Greenville. Wehunt was a 9th rounder out of Kennesaw State last year, got a $100,000 signing bonus. He's a guy we talked about after spring training. He really impressed you down there. I didn't get to see him. In Salem, he was excellent. He had a 2.16 ERA, 44 Ks to 15 walks, and 33 in the third innings. Since getting promoted to Greenville, Wehunt struggled a little bit at first. In 26 innings total in Greenville, he's got a 4.15 ERA. But again, 30 Ks to 18 walks, whip is 1. The OPS against is under 600. The average against is under 200. He's been pretty good there. I think they're happy with what they've seen out of him. The question that Sparky asked is, how can Wehunt have a 188 batting average against, but still have an ERA over 4? Part of that is small sample size. I mean, it's that's just a small sample. It's 6 starts, I think, is the answer to that. So.
Well, it's also like if you walk a couple guys and give up a home run, there's
3
runs right there or whatever. Yeah, 3 runs.
3. Yeah.
Well, no, it depends how many people are.
No
on base.
5 run home runs yet. I think in the rules. Maybe. That might be coming soon.
But
to the Big Ten.
I mean, yeah, his last 3 starts, 14 innings, 10 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 18 strikeouts. Good size, fastball, breaking ball, splitter, changeup thing. Definitely someone, as we said, on our radar. I feel like we've talked about him a decent amount, but yeah, no, he's definitely interesting. Especially, I mean, getting credit to the scouting staff for finding. I think he was 50K, 100K signing. So
100K, yeah,
definitely an interesting guy.
6'7", another tall guy.
Yep,
the tall guy. This is the tall guy episode. Tall guy episode. Yeah, he's a guy who might move up in the rankings next month just because he's continuing to perform and do well and. Next year, I
wouldn't say that yet because we're going to have to add people.
So. We're going to have to add people. That's true. It might be a functional move up, right? Where he stays where he is, but 4 guys enter ahead of him or something. So, and that's another thing too, by the way, when we update the rankings to include the draftees, we'll mention this, but guys are going to look like they moved down and they didn't. It's just the guys entered the rankings ahead of them. So you got to kind of look at it in a relative sense. I think that's actually all of our emails. So again, podcast@soxprospects.com. We want to talk about what you all want to hear about. So hit us up. And with that, we will end it there. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for downloading, for rating and reviewing, for supporting us, for supporting the Sox Prospects donation drive. Again, goal is 10K. I think we're probably at this point over 80% of the way there. Help us to get to our goal by the end of the month. We would really appreciate it. And of course, you can support us on patreon.com/Sox Prospects. We'll give a shout out to our next round of $5 level supporters. That list includes Jeff Trainer, Tim Harding, James O'Hara, Nathan Kenyon, David B., Al Mendel, Kevin Catrides, Steve Gregory, James Bailey, and Andreas Goldstrand. Thank you all for your support. Follow the site on social media @Sox Prospects. You can follow Ian at Ian Cundall, that's IANCUNDLL, and you can follow me @SP Chris Hatfield. Thank you to the Ludlow Thieves for our intro and outro music. You can find their stuff wherever you get your tunes. Thank you and welcome back to our podcast producer, Daniel Fox. Good to have you back in the fold, Foxy. I enjoyed getting back in the producer seat for a little bit, but I'm over it. So this one's all yours. Very much appreciated. As much as we appreciate all of you for listening, we'll be back with more of the web's best coverage of the Red Sox organization soon. So keep your ears to the feed. Thank you all for listening.